Hey YouTube, welcome to the channel. Today we're doing a little spring maintenance on the 99 Ford Mustang that I picked up from Copart last spring. I don't have too many videos on this car. It's got about 57,000 original miles on it. The car came up from Florida. I bought it last spring, did a full rebuild on it. And there's a handful of things that I have not accomplished on it yet. Today we're going to take a look at changing the rear differential fluid. I've got a couple of exhaust hangers that have got to get changed. I've got a fuel filter to change and the transmission fluid and filter. The only reason that I'm going after these fluids is because it is a 25-year-old car and it's probably well past due to have its fluid changed, not by mileage, but by age. So we're going to go ahead and change this out and get most of this car ready for spring. There's a couple of other pieces too. The car we'll probably do in another video. The air conditioner does not work in it. That's the last major piece that is broken on this car. Otherwise, it is really clean from a rust standpoint. You probably won't find a cleaner one up in New England that's been driven than this car here. So let's jump in and take a look at what we've got to do. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this differential cover off. It is a half-inch, there's a bunch of half-inch bolts here. So we're gonna grab one of our magnetic trees, and I'm just gonna start at the bottom. You want to note where your tag is here, so just probably take a picture of that quickly so I know where it is and remember, because you might not remember. And I have a brand new gasket that's gonna go on this as well. This doesn't look like it's ever been apart. Actually, I see RTV sealant on it, so maybe it has. And this car, like I said, is pretty darn clean for the most part. It came up from, the history on it is it came up from Florida, at least according to the VIN check. It spent the first like 20-something years of its life down in Florida. And then it was bought by someone in Massachusetts back in, I want to say October of 2019, I think is what I remember. And then I have no idea how it ended up at Copart, where I got it. But it ended up at the Copart yard down the street from my house. And I bought it because I could see in the pictures this car was really clean, and it was not that expensive. So I think I won it for $800 or $750 or something like that, and then plus auction fees. I don't know, I want to say it was like $1,500 or something, which is probably, over, it was probably more than what the car was worth in a non-running state, because when I got it, it did not run. Well, I shouldn't say it didn't run. It ran just not very well. So it took me a little while to figure out it had a timing issue, and I'm still not 100% convinced that I fixed all of the timing problems, because it is still somewhat hard to start, especially after it's sat for a while. I probably will throw a set of injectors in it at some point, because the one of them has a crack in the housing. When I was troubleshooting it, I noticed, but the injectors are like $300 or $400, and I've already dumped a lot more money into this car. That's what nobody tells you, is when you buy a car from Copart, or just used in general, to be honest, a non-running car, it's going to need a lot more than what you think it needs once you get into it. I don't really care what anybody tells you. I've done enough of them now that it's always going to need more than what you think it's going to need. So this needed brakes and suspension, and I think I put new coil springs in the front too, because those were cracked. And I did a brand new harmonic balancer because, like I said, when I bought it, I could barely get it to run, and I couldn't get it to stay in time. And I did look at the cam synchro on these cars. They have a cam synchronizer in place of where a distributor would be on an older carbureted engine, and it didn't look like it had been touched, but once I got it apart, when I decided to go that route, because they can be a little tricky to get in time if you haven't done one before, and I hadn't done one in a long time. It had definitely been apart before, so I put a brand new cam synchro in it. I'm not 100% certain that the cam synchro that I put in, I think it was a Dorman unit. It still seems to have a squeak in it now that it's been sitting, so which is kind of what they do when they start to fail. So we may replace that again with if I can find a Motorcraft one or a better brand. All right, is the last bolt out here. So we've got all our bolts in our metal tray, and I've got plastic chisel so we don't mar the surface here. And we'll see if this comes off. There we go. Like I said, it looks like it's got some RTV in it. Actually, that fluid doesn't even really look that bad. I'm just gonna lightly put this screw back in the top here, or bolt rather. This actually looks pretty clean, which I'm surprised at. There we go. Just let that drain. Like I said, there's no reason that I was going after this other than it's probably never been done. It's not like I had noise or anything that I was or it was leaking. It hadn't been done, or to my knowledge, I didn't expect it to have been done. These are awesome. I think I picked these up at Harbor Freight for like $1 or $1.99 when they had one of their Insider Track sales. They're not super durable, but they work pretty darn well. So, I mean, for the price, can't really go wrong. All right, let's take this cover off the rest of the way here. There we go. And this is, I don't think I mentioned it, it is the 7.5 rear end, which is more than sufficient for this particular vehicle. The 3.8 has no real oomph to it. You probably won't break this rear axle just under normal driving. I mean, if you were, abusing it, sure, maybe, but I don't think you can really do much damage to it with the 3.8 liter that's in here. And so there's our RTV sealant. That's probably factory. Whoops, on the floor. Like I said, I have a seal to put on it. So we'll clean this up. And I'm just I picked these up, I think, at Harbor Freight for around 10 or 15 bucks for the set. And it does a pretty good job. I was using it on my on the Ram in one of my other videos, and it actually cleans off pretty darn good. What you don't want to do is you don't want to mar the surface of the axle or the cover because you will cause an issue with sealing where you can. So the plastic is obviously far softer than the metal housing. If there's not a whole heck of a lot of garbage on there, this is a pretty darn good way of getting it off. You can use RTV to seal it. Matter of fact, that's probably what the book calls for, but we're going to use the factory, well, it's not a factory gasket, I think it's a Fel-Pro gasket, but that's what we're going to put on, and then we'll, as long as the cover's in good shape and torqued appropriately, you shouldn't have any issues. Now, one thing that I should mention that I did before I started all of this, on the front side here, there is your fill plug, and a lot of times, I wasn't super worried about it on this car because the car is in pretty good shape and it's not super rusty, but a lot of times those plugs don't come out. So before I did this, I made sure I could move it back and forth, so we're good there. So once I get it all clean and put back together, we'll be able to fill it up from here. Now, the fluid that we're going to use to fill this back up is Royal Purple's 75W140. I'm not really a super Royal Purple guy. I don't really usually go after the expensive oils. But this one's got all the friction modifiers and everything in it that you may need. So I you know, that's what I went after for this one. So, and I really have a whole heck of a lot of choices at the local parts store of brands to buy. And I know most oil is the same, but I decided to splurge a little on the car. So I'm gonna let this finish draining, and then we'll come back. I'll clean up the differential cover. And the way that we're gonna do this is largely the same. There's really not much on the back side of this. I'm just gonna scrape it. I'm gonna wash it down with some brake clean. And then once this is done dripping and draining, we'll put the cover and the gasket back on, torque everything down, and then I can fill it up. I got the cover cleaned up. This is largely finished dripping here. Excuse me. We're gonna just dry this all up here. Make sure it's nice and clean. I wouldn't spray any like brake clean or anything directly in there, but you can put some on the rag if there's some tough spots you want to get off here. At the back side of our cover here, nice and clean. This goes up to the top like so. Actually, no, I'm sorry, I lied. That goes on the bottom like that. So the notches line up. And the gasket that I'm going to use is a Felpro, part number RDS 55081. Now it says it's for Ford products from 84 to 95, but it should fit. It should fit this axle, and I got it from Rock Auto, and it was specifically listed for this car. So there's the gasket. Let's make sure it fits on our cover here. This looks like all the bolt holes line up appropriately. Looks like there's just a little bit of oil still seeping out there. Wipe that up. And we'll grab a couple of bolts. Top one in here. So just to get it, we just want to get everything lined up. So get it started. There we go. And we'll get the bottom one in here. Just grab my whole tin here. Not a hard job to do. I mean, you can do this on the ground. It's not hard at all. Like I said, this car is pretty darn clean, so that makes the job easier when the car is not a rust bucket. Had a couple of these over the years, not the same year, but I've had, this is I think the fourth Mustang I've had. I had a couple before I was even filming. So I think this is the fourth one. This is the nicest one I've had, that's for sure. First one I had was a 95. That was a red one, and that was a rot box underneath. Then I bought a blue one, which wasn't much better. That was a 94, and I had intentions of putting my Super Coupe motor in it. Never got that far. That became a parts car because my 97 that you've seen on the channel, that does have my Super Coupe motor in it. That one I found, and that one's pretty clean. It's not as clean as this, but it's pretty clean. Rockers and stuff are all solid on it. There's no, there's some minor rust in it. Unfortunately, it's definitely been in an accident before, and I didn't know that when I bought it. So there's some body work to be done on it, which is one of the reasons it's still sitting in pieces. So not all of the reasons, but all right. And take our 1/2-inch socket here, and I'm just gonna gently snug these down. I gotta go look up and see if there's a torque spec. There we go. And I'm just gonna kind of go in like a little bit of a crisscross type pattern here. These bolts need to be torqued roughly between 20 and 30 foot-pounds. 20 and 30 foot-pounds, which is roughly 300 inch-pounds. And my torque wrench will only go to 250 inch-pounds. So we're just gonna, oh yeah, of course that's not gonna make it up there. All right. We're gonna do 250 inch-pounds, which is roughly 20 foot-pounds. So that should be more than enough for these bolts. And I don't even know if I want to go that hard, to be honest with you. That seems like a lot for these little bolts. So, again, just going to work in a crisscross pattern. There we go. That one I missed. That's good. And then filling this will be the next step, is to put, it takes 1.5 quarts, something like that. We move around to the front here, and we'll get it set up so that we get the fluid into it, and then we'll put this one to bed. Bottle hooked up here. You can pick one of these up at, I think, the parts store, a few bucks, not terribly expensive. Let's see if I can do this. This is always the pain in the butt part. And it's cold out, so I believe this takes like 1.5 to 2 quarts or something along those lines. You need 2 bottles. I don't think it'll take all 2, from what I read. And there are better ways to do this. This is just the way that I've done it. Let's see if we can loop this around here like so. This is much easier on some cars. So I just kind of squeeze the bottle. They make transfer pumps and things. I don't know. We won't do this enough. We'll get this filled up, and then we'll come back and continue on. I'm going to bore you guys with watching me sit here and fill this, because we'll be here all day at this rate. I got the fluid in. You can see it's dribbling out here. So that means the fluid level is just right about here, and you can see put my finger in and get fluid out. So what we'll do now is I'm going to clean up my plug here. Just wipe the little bit of metal shavings off the end so that it's nice and clean when we put it back in. And then we'll put the plug back in and get everything cleaned up, and probably move on to the fuel filter. And we'll just start the threads there. So we'll put our ratchet on it. And we'll make sure it's nice and flush with the axle housing like it was prior. I'm actually going to take that little adapter off here. Actually, no, I'm sorry, it wasn't flush with it. Okay, there we go. Snug. Light this up. You'll get a little bit of brake clean, and just clean that up so that we can tell if it leaks, and I think we should be good. Just clean it off. There we go. All right, good as new. So got a new seal in there, fresh fluid, royal purple, good stuff. Show as much as I can of this, because I can't really have the camera on here when it drips. This is the fuel filter. There's a couple of things you've got to change. So first of all, before we even change it and touch it, you need to note that there's a direction of flow to it. So this line comes in from the tank, and it goes through the filter, and it goes up to the front of the car to the motor. So these are what's called a returnless fuel line system, and what that means is there's just a single fuel line. On the older 3.8s, they had a send line and a return line. So like on my 97, I have two fuel. I'm going to do it again. I have 2 fuel lines. So this system's a little simpler to work on. All you need to do for this is you got to take this clamp off, and then you can pull these. Oh, that was stuck in there. You can pull these clips off. They kind of pivot. Let's see, you might need a screwdriver for that. Go grab one. Just pop these clips off here like so. I believe they just come off, if I recall. I don't think there's anything special that you've got to do. Let me get on this side so I can see a little better. And you will need a fuel line. There you go. There's a little pressure left on the system. There we go. All right, that one's off. And you'll need a fuel line disconnect tool for this, which I got to go find mine. There we go. All right, that side's off. Okay. All right. Let me go find a fuel line disconnect tool, and then let me just see if this. Oh, that's going to be fun. All right. I may have to get a socket for that. So while we're looking at the fuel filter, before I finish getting this one taken off, got a brand new Motorcraft part number FG-1114, and you can see looks just like the old one. And note there's an arrow on here, so you want the arrow to point towards the motor, so like this in the housing. And so you can see you've got these little barbs here. The fuel line goes over it, captures it, and holds it in place, and then the clamp holds it into the factory mount. So we'll put that away here for the moment. I gotta go get a socket, and I gotta find my fuel line disconnects, and then we should be able to pop that out and slide the new one in and put it all back together. Now, one thing that I do like to do on fuel filters and oil filters, and air filters too, if you can, is I like to put the mileage and the date on the filter, so when I look at it, I'm like, oh yeah, I changed that a year ago at 57,000 miles, whatever, right? So it helps me be able to look at it. You don't have to do that, but that's what I do. So we'll put the date and the mileage on it, and that part will be done. Then we can do the exhaust clamps and the transmission fluid. All right, when it comes to fuel line disconnect tools and just disconnect tools in general, there's a couple of different styles you can pick from, at least that I have. These are plastic tools, and these are probably more geared towards like AC service. They go into the hose based on the line, based on the size, and you can push them in and they'll disengage the clip inside. And then they've got these guys, which are probably the most common that you find in the parts store, that they do the same thing. You pick the right size for the line, and you slide it in and wiggle it loose. I don't know if these look like they're kind of big for this particular line. We'll try and see what that looks like. All right, let's see if that. No, that's not going to fit in there physically. No, that's too big. I think that's the problem. Yeah, that's the smallest one I got on there. All right, let's try these plastic ones. I seem to have much better luck with these. Oh, this one might be good. This one should be a little better, I think. And I might have to take it out of the bracket to do that. At least on the send side. You just slip it over the line like that. Push it into the fitting. And sometimes these lines get stuck. They get a lot of crap in them, dirt and stuff from the road over the years, so they may not disengage right away. You may have to kind of work them back and forth. This one seems like it's gonna. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So that side came out. And yeah, there's a little bit of gas coming out. May want a pan or something underneath. That's why I don't want the camera right there. All right, so the next thing I gotta do, because I can't get the fitting in here to break this loose, is I gotta go get a socket and see if I can get this clamp undone. There we go, it's a 6. Oh, knocking that pole light over. All right. There we go. That is loose. Can we, what I need to do, I need to be able to get the disconnect tool in between here. And I don't think I can. Well, maybe now that I can get the other side disconnected. Let's see here. There we go. All right. Yeah, it just barely fits in there. There we go. Okay. So there's the side from the tank that's disconnected now. And that one probably have, yep, that's got a little fuel in it too. All right, I was able to get the clamp off. It should slide out here. We're gonna put our finger over each of the things here. Try and stop the fuel. There we go. All right. And you get covered in gas with this. Got the date and the mileage. And it goes in like so. Like I said, you want to remember the flow. There's a direction. There we go. There we go. That side snapped in place. That side snapped in place. Now we can put our clamp back over it. Locks back in place here. Perfect. Okay. Now we'll put our connectors back on. There we go. That one's in place. And and there we go. That one's in place. So that's done. Got a brand new fuel filter in there. Good for a while. The next thing we're going to do, this exhaust hanger has seen better days. This one has seen better days. Probably just going to get a knife and cut them. So they do make a tool to get these on and off. I do not own one at the moment. And since these are so dry rotted, I'm going to just see if I can cut them. I don't know if that'll work or not. They're still pretty thick even though they're dry rotted. So that's the problem with Florida cars that I have found, is they have a tendency, even though they're pretty rust free, everything's brittle and dry rotted because of the heat down there. Like there's connectors up in the engine bay on this car as I've worked on it that are super brittle, that cars that I've worked on that have been up in New England forever that are equally as old, like my 97 and my 98 F-150 and my 94 Taurus. Shoot, even the I don't even know what year it is, 87, 88 Turbo Coupe. It's not mine, so I don't remember. Their harnesses are all in much better shape than this one is. So I think this one's going to be the easier one here to get at. So slice this off. Like I said, they make a tool for this. I don't own it. Shocker, I know, right? That's on the agenda. Yeah, it's still too thick. So you can see I took these hangers off. I did that during the week because I had to go and actually go to the store and find appropriate ones. I didn't end up ordering the tool for it. Actually, this muffler looks like this car was backfiring, so this muffler looks like it's bulged. I didn't end up ordering the tool to press these off. I ended up just getting a sharp razor blade and cutting them like I talked about earlier. And what we'll do is we'll probably grease these up and slide the new one on. These are real fun usually to get on. I'll probably do this one first because the direction of the stop is going to make it challenging. So let me go grab the new hangers and we'll get those hung up there. I got a couple of these guys from AutoZone. I think they were like $7 a piece. They're supposed to fit a Ford. They're part number 17162. And they're not quite identical to the original ones, but they're pretty darn close. I couldn't find ones that were 100% identical. So I'm just gonna get these guys opened up. And like I said, I'm gonna do the inner one first. And for this, I'm just gonna take a little all-purpose grease. It is really cold out here, so we may have a little bit of fun getting these on. Hopefully the grease will help. Might have to put just a little bit of warmth to it, although I don't want to do that if I can avoid it. See if this helps. I don't think it really matters which direction it goes on. I'm gonna start from the bottom here. There we go, there's the bottom one. And this is the problem, because the rubber is not flexible enough to go up and over. I may have to, oops. Here goes my headphone. I have a hate-love relationship with these things. All right. I was very close. Getting this, getting these exhaust brackets taken care of here, or these exhaust hangers. I'm gonna end up taking this bracket out, and I got one bolt loose already. We'll get up there with a 10mm bolt. And the reason I'm doing this, it's like I explained earlier in the video, getting this rubber hanger up and over the end of this is real tricky. And I'm going to take the hanger bracket down here. Thankfully, all the bolts are coming out easily. And we're going to slide it in here. And I'm going to slide the new hanger over here. And then we'll push it all back up. And we should be good to go. All right, there's that bolt out. So there's our hanger. That sits up at the bottom of the car like this. Two 10mm bolts. I greased this piece up here, and we're gonna slide it back through here. I'm gonna push it in like so through the new hanger or isolator. There we go. And we'll get this new one over here, just like this. And I'll grease this side up over here, like so. Just a little all-purpose grease. We'll clean up the excess after. These are hard rubber, and sometimes they're a pain to put on. Let's see if I can do this without the drac. There we go. All right, we'll start that. Let's get the other one in. Now I just gotta snug these down, and this part of the job's done. Earlier in the video, there's other things I've got to do to this car before cruise season comes. We'll do that in another video. The air conditioner needs to be fixed, and there is a issue with the blower motor. I suspect mice have gotten in there and made a mess of that, which is unfortunately all too common in cars that sit. So this should take care of my exhaust rattle. Probably as close to factory fit as you're gonna get. Like I said, I couldn't find the exact same isolators or hangers that were on here, but these are pretty darn close. Make sure you wipe off any excess grease. You wanna try and be as neat about your work as possible. So the grease is just to help you get the rubber on to the hanger. All right, this is a bit of a messy job. This is the fun part. Taking off this transmission pan. We don't want to pull all the bolts out at once. They're 10mm bolts. So we'll start. They shouldn't be in there very tight. I have a new filter, new pan gasket. So I'm going to take the bulk of these bolts out here. This pan, unfortunately, doesn't have a drain plug, which stinks. You can retrofit them sometimes. I'm not going to bother with this particular one here. I'm expecting what we'll find in this is the original factory plug that they knock into the pan when they fill it up for the first time with fluid. So, like I said, I have a new gasket, new filter. No issues with the transmission. Just doing this as, you know, preventative maintenance. It's probably never ever been done. I'd be shocked if it's been done. And like I said, you can kind of tell if there's a plug in the transmission pan here. If there is one here, I'll show it to you. And we'll, just I'm getting the bulk of the bolts out. And then we'll drop a couple of them. That way you don't get a face full of ACS or transmission fluid. And you can see this pan's nice and clean. There's no leaks or anything under here. I'll back these back ones off a hair. There we go. There's the money shot right there. All right. Try and divert it towards the back here. All right. Now, we'll drop these a hair, which will let it pivot a little more towards the back, theoretically. This is always a messy job. I think there's only 4 bolts in it right now that I've got. Oops, as I smack my own camera. You definitely want to have gloves on when you do this. This stuff gets everywhere. Pull this out a little bit. Let's see if we can drop this one a little more. Let a little more fluid out before we drop the whole pan. Oh, that one popped out. So now it's just two bolts holding it in. Probably gonna have to drop it at this point and hope most of the pan catches it. That's why I have a big, I don't know, big funnel over here to try and catch stuff like this. Let me see here. Do this by hand. All right, there we go. All right. Oh yeah, there's the plug right here. This is what I'm talking about. See, that's from the factory. So this has never been off before. The rest of the fluid actually looks really good. I didn't really expect to find anything crazy out of it. Like I said, the car's only got about 57,000 miles on it, so it's in pretty good shape. And once this drips, we'll put the new filter in. So this is your filter here. We'll put the brand new one in. We'll clean the pan up, and we'll get the new gasket on. Technically, I think this is reusable. I think the new kit came with a new gasket. I hope it did, because I don't like reusing them. So technically, I think they are reusable, but so not unhappy with what I see here. This just looks like it's in pretty good shape. We'll check the magnet too. Clearing out the transmission pan for the car. The way I can tell that this has never been off the car is you see this little yellow, I don't know, dauber with a black seal on it, or a rubber O-ring. This goes in the dipstick tube, and it seals it until they're ready to put the fluid in the factory, and then it falls into the pan. So if you open up a Ford transmission like this, you can tell if this is in the pan, it's largely never been open. And you can see, maybe not from that distance on the camera, but the magnet here, we'll clean this off. We're gonna clean the inside of the pan. This fluid looks great. It doesn't smell burnt, it doesn't look burnt. So largely we're gonna clean the pan here, and then we're gonna clean up the underside of the transmission, new seal, new filter, and put this back on the car, drop it down off the lift, and put brand new fluid in it. So, and all you really have to do for this is drain your oil out of it into your catch pan or whatever it is that you have. This is largely going to ruin your rag, so use something you don't care about. And we'll start getting the bulk of it out, and it's cold, so it's thick. And we'll just wipe this out here, make it nice and clean. And you want to get as much of the metal material off your magnet. Matter of fact, this magnet should come out so we can pop it off and clean it real good. So I got the bulk of the fluid out here. I'm gonna go get some more rags and we'll spray it down. We'll get that magnet out, we'll clean it off, and we'll be ready to go back on the car. So I pulled the magnet out here, and we're gonna just wipe more of it off here. Now, if you see big chunks when you drop your pan, you have a problem. But this is just normal wear for, 57,000 miles. And just get it clean as possible. We'll clean that off with some brake clean. Now we'll want to go through our pan with a shop rag here and just get the rest of the crud out, like so. And you don't want to have any dirt in here when you put it back together, because dirt in the transmission is not a good thing. So you can see it's pretty clean here. I gotta clean the outside up because it's still gross. We'll clean just a little bit in there. And get it nice and shiny. This would be the time, if you were going to put a drain plug on it, you could do it at this point in time. A lot of times guys will punch a hole in the pan and put a drain plug on it. Sometimes they can be soft soldered into place. Or you can just get a pan. I believe they make pans that have plugs in them already. And it makes changing your fluid really easy. Although you don't, I guess most people don't do this on a regular cadence. And like I said, I wasn't really experiencing any issues with the transmission. The car is 25 years old, and it's, oops, I'm getting my shop towels all wet. It's definitely never been changed. So, just as preventative maintenance, because oils do break down over time, regardless if they're at the right mileage interval or not. And, I intend on keeping the car at least for a bit, and I want to make sure it's gone through, and I want it to be reliable. So maintenance helps make sure the car and all its systems and components, are functional and operational for a good long time. So, all right, pan nice and clean both sides. I'm going to spray down this magnet a little bit and see if I can get a little bit more off of here, and then we'll put it back in the pan, and it just sticks to the bottom of the pan like so. There's a little nub in there that it lines up on, and there we go. So this is ready to go back on the car. All right, so I have a brand new gasket. So I may need to go get a scraping tool. This one's on there pretty good. But this is your filter here, and it just wiggles. There we go. Maybe more fluid that comes out there, and there may be fluid that comes out of the filter. One thing to check on these is on these Ford transmissions, you see this is an orange ring here on the output of the filter. So you have your suction, your pickup here that goes in the bottom of the pan. There's a little ring that needs to come out. Sometimes those get stuck up here in this hole and you'll need a little pick. But this one did not. So we'll let this drip another minute. I'm gonna go find my plastic scraping tool and knock this, try to see if we can knock this gasket off here. Because it is, there we go. And again, by rights, you could probably reuse this as long as it comes off okay and it was not leaking. But the kit that I bought from the parts store comes with a brand new gasket, so that's what we're going to use. So that still needs to dry another minute, and then I'll work on cleaning up the mating surface here, just like we did on the pan. Although you don't want to spray brake clean or anything in here because it could damage stuff in the transmission. So we'll just take a rag, we'll wipe up the drips and clean it up the best we can. Clean up around here. You don't have to worry about getting everything nice and dry. You just want around the edges so the seal or the gasket seals correctly. There we go. And this is actually pretty clean. And when we're done putting everything back in, we'll go around anything that's left. We'll wipe up. You really want to be as neat about your work as possible. Using a Duralast kit from AutoZone, part number TF403. Comes with a filter and a gasket. And you can see, throw that out of the side there. So some of these Ford transmissions, I think on my 4.6 or my F-150, there's a bracket that holds it in that you have to remove before you take the filter out. This one does not have that. This is just pressed fit in there, so you can see the new filter comes with the new O-ring here, and we've got to fit it right like that. Oh. There we go. There we go. All right. So you want it to sit nice and flush in there, and this is your pickup. So that sits in the little bucket that's in the pan, on the bottom of the pan, so it never runs dry. Just make sure that's in there appropriately. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to go get my pan, and we're going to tack it up with a couple of screws or a couple of the bolts, and then I can get this out of the way, and we can put everything back together and drop it down off the lift. These will actually loop right around the screw or the bolts, so you can put a couple of the bolts in here to kind of hold it in place, right? So like that. That way the gasket stays in place, because you don't want it moving while you're trying to get it in place. The narrower part points towards the back here, like so. You may have to pay attention to the the linkage over here for the shifter. I want to make sure they all go through the gasket. I want to make sure I can, move the pan around if needed to make sure the holes all line up. So that's really what I'm doing right now with it. Cool. I think we're gonna get the longer extension. There we go. All right, 2 more to go, almost there. Last one. And again, these were just loosely snug. Not loosely snug, but they're not, you're not hammering them down. And I'm basically gonna go around the pan and skip every other one for the first round. It is an aluminum transmission housing, so you do not want to pull these threads out. Once I have everything bolted down, I'll just kind of hit some stuff with some brake clean, wipe everything down, make sure everything looks good, and then we'll put the fresh fluid in it. This is not a hard job. You could do this on the ground. It's just messy. Just a messy job. I don't know why. I really don't know why they don't put drain plugs on these so you can change them, change the fluid and not make a mess. You would think that that would make a little bit more sense, but I'm not an engineer, so I don't know. Like on my Ram, it actually has a drain plug in the transmission pan. Now, of course, Chrysler in all their wisdom put the exhaust in the way, so you can't exactly get to the drain plug easily, but it does have a drain plug, so that's helpful. But these guys don't have that, so all right, one more to go here. And then I'll just check everything, and we'll go top side and put some new fluid in. There we go. All right, just gonna snug everybody here, just verify one more time, make sure we didn't miss anybody. Okay. All right, so the pan's back on. Now we're just gonna wipe up some of the excess. Make sure it's nice, stays nice and clean under here for the most part. I mean, it's not 100% perfect, but I want to be able to look at it and see if there's any leaks coming, so we'll get it as dry as possible here. go. Nice and clean. All right, let me get some stuff cleaned up here and we'll get some new fluid in it. And that'll call that a wrap on this job. To fill this up, over here you have your dipstick on the passenger side here, and you can pull this out and put that aside briefly. You need yourself a nice clean funnel. We'll stick down in the fill tube there, and then the fluid I'm using is Valvoline Max Life. It meets Dexron, Mercron, CVT, Mercon 5, a whole bunch of stuff. This is the one I normally use for Fords. It says, you know, it matches Ford Mustang 5 and I think it's 6. So that's what we're going to put back in here. And this stuff's like 25 bucks a bottle at Walmart or $35 a bottle at your local parts store. I believe it takes somewhere around 15 quarts. So what we're going to do is I'm going to probably put one of these in. We're going to fire it up. I'm going to run it through the gears. I'm going to check the dipstick and then go from there. Pull our funnel out of here and we'll stuff that off to the side for a second. Actually, I should grab another rag. I'll clean off the end of the dipstick here. I just want to see where it is cold. We'll slide that back down into the pan. So the dipstick has a C and an H on it. So on the bottom it says C, on the top here it says H, and that stands for cold and hot. And that is pretty full, but let's cycle through let me start it up and cycle through the gears and get it get a little warm. Come on, baby, you can start. There we go. Oh, she's grumpy. Real grumpy. Alright, there's reverse, neutral, drive, 2, 1, 2, drive, neutral, reverse. Like I said, I'm cycling it through the gears. That'll put help get fluid into the valve body. Brake. Oh, this has come up to temperature for a minute. And then we'll check it again. Alright, I ran it for a few minutes. Cycled it through the gears a bunch of times. Let's take a look at our dipstick here and see what they look like. It's hard to tell with this. It seems like it's full, but look and see what it takes. Oh, there we go. Now it's dry. All right, I'll put another a couple of quarts in here, and then we'll check it again. It was going into reverse fine, but going into drive, it was a little seemed a little slow, which tells me it's still low on fluid. I believe the whole system holds 15 quarts, including the torque converter. So and you don't want to overfill it. All right, so we'll let that drip down into the pan for a few minutes. I'll fire it back up and see where we are. Let's check this one last time. There's about 7 quarts in here, so I was wrong. I thought it was 15. It takes like 12.7. So we've got about half, just a little over half of that in there. And it has been a little warm. I've warmed it up a little bit. It's definitely on the stick now. And I'll make sure it's okay. It goes through all the gears. You don't want to overfill it, so I don't want to go dumping too much in there. So what we'll do is eventually I'll take it for a ride. Yeah, looks pretty good. What I'll do is I'll take it for a ride and then recheck it. That won't be today. So this job is pretty much done. Got all the maintenance done on the car for the moment, and there'll be some other projects to attack on it. I think I got most of the maintenance done on the car for now. We did the rear axle fluid. We put a brand new fuel filter in the car, fixed the 2 broken exhaust hangers, and put a new transmission filter and gasket and fresh fluid in it. Ran it through the gears. Seems to be okay. I'm not taking it for a ride today because in front of the shop is all muddy, and I haven't had a chance to fix all the site or do all the site work. We got the building built last year, but I didn't get to finish the site work. That's on the docket for the spring. I'll take it for a ride another day and see how it does, and then I'll recheck the fluid again after that. You don't want to overfill an automatic transmission. So like I said, I got about 7 quarts in there, and the system takes about 12.7 to 13, depending upon where you look. So just enough in there. Like I said, it goes through the gears, but we'll get it hot and take it for a ride another day. So most of the projects on this car are done. The next big piece is the air conditioner. The AC compressor is locked up solid, so I've got to get a new AC compressor for it and get that swapped out. Sitting in it today reminded me that the speakers are all dry rotted and blown because the car spent its life in Florida. So I've got new speakers I've got to order for it, and the blower motor is either bad or full of mouse disgustingness, so I've got to fix that as well. And I still have an issue with the power steering. It feels like it cuts in and out occasionally. It does have a brand new remand rack in it, and the power steering pump I had changed at one point, but the old one is back in it because the new one failed and AutoZone RMA'd or replaced the broken one. I have yet to change it because I don't know why it failed, so I put the old one back in, which it does weep a little, and it's a little noisy, but it works. So I'm probably going to go after that at some point over the next few months and get this really ready to go. I want this car all mechanically ready so that I can drive it and not be uncomfortable with it, not that I am now. But basically I want to get all the mechanics of it straightened out so that I can then start focusing on the body. There's a bunch of dents and dings and things just throughout the car. And there's one major spot of rust in the trunk. When you pop the trunk in the valleys, the car looks like it had sat underneath a tree for a while, so we've got some rust work to do there. Otherwise, the body of the car is super clean, and the passenger side fender is pushed in a little bit, so I may try and track down another fender. And I've also got to fix the antenna. It is snapped in the antenna holder, fixture, what have you. So I've got to track one of those down and a new antenna for it. And the headlights are pretty foggy. And once I get all the body work and stuff taken care of, then it'll be time to probably have it painted. And it should have a set of tires because it's got a knockoff brand of tires that I have no idea how old they are. So I'll probably put another set of tires on it. A lot more money into this car than I ever intended, but I'm hoping to have it for a while. So we'll get it all mechanically sound and make it look pretty, and it'll be a fun summer cruiser. So if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Something you want to know about the car, something you want to know about the channel, subscribe, like the video, leave a comment below. And I have a ton more projects coming. I'm trying to make regular content now that I have the shop and the cameras and all the other stuff that I've been waiting for a while. I have a lot of stuff backlogged on the docket, and I've been trying to do some stuff for family and friends so that I get the content to the channel. So if you liked the video, you found it helpful, you thought it was interesting, this was a little more, I tried to do this one a little more vlog-ish. like and subscribe below, and I'll see you in the next video.